Hello everyone, and thank you so much for joining me today in painting our super cute little April Showers elephant. Before we get started, let's make sure we have all of our supplies ready to go. So we'll need some brushes. We'll need maybe a bigger brush, kind of a medium brush, and a smaller brush. We'll need a water cup to wash our brushes and a paper towel to dry off our brushes. Your kit came wrapped in some brown paper, so make sure you put that brown paper underneath your canvas as we paint so you can make sure nothing else gets painted. And we'll need some paints. So today's colors we have black, white, blue, green, yellow, pink, purple, and brown. I'm going to start with the biggest brush that I have. I'm going to take that big brush, give it a little dip in the water, get things flowing, tap on the paper so it's not all drippy, and we are going to start with our background. We're going to start with our blue sky. So on our little plate, I'm going to get a big ol' heap and scoop of white, put that over on the edge here, a little bit of blue, and I'm gonna mix into all that white until you get a light blue that you like. Yours can be lighter than mine, yours can be darker than mine. Gonna mix till we get a light blue, and we're going to start filling in all of our background. Nice long brush strokes. Gonna paint around our elephant. But you can paint over your little drops. I'm going to paint around my umbrella and around my mouth. You can go over that little umbrella handle though. I'm painting right up to the edge of my ground. While I have the blue on my brush, I'm also going to wrap it around and paint the side edges to match. Wherever you have blue, wrap it around and get both sides. We're gonna get all the top edge. Get the other side. So we're gonna let that sky dry for a while. Later on we'll come in and add some clouds and a little sun. But for now we are going to fill in our elephant. I'm gonna switch down to smaller brush and I'm gonna mix up a light gray. So for that, I'm gonna get a good scoop of white and just a tiny bit, you can always add more, just a little at a time, a little bit of black paint. And that'll give you a light gray. Yours can be lighter than mine, yours can be darker than mine. Again, that's okay. And a color that you like. And we're gonna fill in all of our elephant next. Take it nice and slow around those edges. You can go over those lines, just smooth the paint out. You can go over the eye, just smooth out the paint so you can still see that little line underneath. Painting around the little toes, but all the other lines you can go over. Okay, so we're gonna let our elephant dry now, and let's fill in our grass. I'm going to get a little bit of white and put that over by my green here. And I'm gonna mix the green and white together to make a little bit of a lighter green. And that will be my color for all of the grass down here and that bottom edge also. So we're gonna let our grass dry now, and we're gonna switch brushes again. I'm gonna find the smallest brush that I have, and we're gonna fill in our little mouse friend over here. I'm gonna do a light brown, and we don't need much of this color, so I'm just gonna get a little bit of white and a little bit of brown and mix, mix, mix. And so you get a color that you like. If you want to do your mouse a different color, definitely can. So I'm going to fill in all the body of my little mouse friend over here. You can fill in that whole entire ear. We're going to put a little bit of pink in there later. For now, you can just fill all the way in. And I'm gonna fill in the little umbrella color next. So I'm gonna wash off my brush and dry off my brush. Again, you can make your umbrella any different color you like. I'm going to make mine pink, yellow, green, and purple. So I'll start with a little bit of pink. Again, I washed off my brush, I dried off my brush, getting a little bit of pink. And I'm going to fill in this first little piece. Take it nice and slow on those edges, there's no rush. Smooth it out. Gonna wash off my brush, dry off my brush, and go into yellow. I'm gonna get a little bit of yellow next for this next little piece. I'm gonna do some green next. I'm gonna wash off my brush, dry off my brush, get a little bit of green. And don't need much paint on your brush at all. It's a really small little space. Just a little bit is all you need. And then my last color is gonna be purple, so I'm gonna wash off my brush, dry off my brush. I'm gonna go into a little bit of purple. That's gonna be that last little piece. Now we're gonna let that dry. Now we're gonna go back over here to our sky. By this time it should be a little bit more dry now. And we're gonna add in our little clouds and our little sun. And we're gonna do that with our finger brush. So I'm going to get, for the clouds, a little bit of white paint. Just a little bit. The less paint you have on your finger, the fluffier your clouds will be. There's a couple different ways you can add this on. First way is the scratchy little circle method. So you're going to, with a little bit of paint on your finger, press and scratch around in just little circles. Get a little bit more little circles, wherever you want those to be. I like to make mine a little bit fluffier in the middle, and then they kind of thin out, trail off on the edges. Looks very cloud. You can also do tappy clouds. So that's little taps. Also makes nice fluffy little clouds. So whichever way you like best, or you could do both. Rub it in. You can do as many clouds as you'd like. I'm gonna go over here to where those little sprays are gonna be. We're gonna put these on first so we can put on our little droplets in a little bit here. So wherever you want little clouds to be. Put that many clouds. Maybe you can do more, you can do less. And then we're going to keep using our finger for our little sun. So it's a very similar thing. We're just gonna go around more in a circle this time. So I'm gonna get a little bit of yellow just by itself. And over here in this little corner, I'm gonna kind of scratch around in a little circle, about however big you want to make your sun. Just kind of rub it in. It's going to be pretty light to start, and then we're going to add a little bit more here. So like around there, there's kind of like little rays of light kind of drifting off. And then I'm going to get more paint, and then right in the middle, I'm going to do little taps. So it's a little darker in the middle. It's not going to be a perfect circle. We don't really want one. You can use another finger to kind of blend out little edges if you need. If you have kind of a harsh line, you can use another finger, kind of rub it in for a little sun. So for our next step, I'm going to add on that little outline on the elephant friend over here, and I'm going to use the smallest brush that I have. So this isn't a black, it's a really dark blue. I don't know if you can see that there. It's a little darker on the screen there. But it's a little softer, it's a darker blue. You could also do a darker purple, you can do a darker green, you can do a darker pink. I just want a darker color than my elephant. So I'm gonna do a darker blue. So over here on my blue, I'm gonna get a little bit, just a little bit of black, and then mix it into a little bit of blue. So it's a little darker blue. And whenever I outline things, especially with the dark color, I like to add a little bit of water to that, and that just helps it along so much. It makes it so much easier to use, because these acrylic paints, they dry really fast. So even when they're on your plate, they're kind of drying out a little bit, so that water kind of helps to reactivate. So I'm going to dip my brush into water, and I'm going to kind of shake it on top and mix in that water. I'm going to dip again, mix it in. I'm going to scratch off all that extra paint I don't need that I have after mixing. And I'm going to follow around all the little edges. Hold it nice and tall. I'm going to keep my brush kind of like just on the very end. If you feel the metal part or the wind part of your brush, you're pressing a little too hard. So I'm just going around. Keep grabbing more paint. Small brushes are nice for lines, but they don't hold as much paint. I'm gonna go over that little eye. I give you kind of a thick outline, that's okay. Take it nice and slow. Oh, the Sharpie. I didn't outline the individual toes, and I'll put a little bit of white there later, but if you want to outline those also, you can. I will still put some white there later too. And that little tail, those little hairs on the end of the tail. And then lastly, I'm going to add a few little wrinkles on the nose. These go about halfway across, all the way down on the nose. While I have that dark color on this little brush, I'm also going to go over that little handle for the umbrella. And that little piece on the top. While we're working over here in our little mouse, let's add on that little bit of pink there. Same little brush, but make sure you wash off your brush and dry off your brush. Washed it off. I'm gonna add a little bit of light pink. So I'll need to mix up some light pink. I'm gonna get a little scoop of white. Don't need much of this color. I'm gonna get a little bit of pink. Mix, mix, mix. A little bit more white. Take it a light pink. It's looking good. Scratch off the extra. And this is gonna go on that tiny little nose. Inside of the ear. little on the foot, book, and a little on the tail. Whoop. Beautiful. So while we're breaking in some pink, let's start with the fun part. All those little rainbowy little splatteries bursting out. All the little April showers. So I'm gonna go kind of rainbow with these. So I'm gonna do pink, yellow, green, and purple. You can do them all the same color, you can do them all different colors, you could do blue, because water, however you like, but I'm gonna start with pink. I'm gonna use a little bit of pink just by itself, and I'm gonna start out in the ones that are already traced, just to kind of get the hang of that shape. So they're kind of roundy on one side, and then they kind of point on the other side, like a little raindrop shape. I'll add this one maybe. And then if you want to just fill in the ones that are traced, definitely can. These are here to kind of help you out with which direction they're kind of falling in. But once you kind of know which way they're going, you can add more. So I'm gonna make a line like a J shape, and then bring it in and then fill it in. I'm gonna keep sprinkling these around, kind of filling in a little bit more space. Again, a line, a J, and then a line on the other side. A line, a J, follow it up to the point. You can do as many or as few as you like. Good amount. After my pink, I'm gonna go with yellow. I'm gonna wash off my brush, dry off my brush. I'm gonna add a little bit of white to my yellow just so it's not so see-through, and it'll cover over the blue a little bit better. So I grabbed a little bit of white, I'm mixing it into some yellow. Because if at any point your colors are a little see-through-y, more than you'd like, just a little white mixed in helps a lot. So I'm gonna fill in these next little guys. And then I can add more in between. I'm gonna add some amongst the pink. And down a little lower. Again, however many you like. Kind of randomly. Because when water sprays, it sprays randomly. It goes all over. In between. Fill in those bigger spaces. Here. Good amount. You can always add more. And then I'm gonna go green. So I'm gonna wash off my brush, dry off my brush. I'm gonna grab a little green for my next row. Add some in between. amount of green. And then all the rest are going to be purple on mine. Wash out my brush, dry off my brush. Use some purple just by itself. And get these last little guys. Good amount. And then while I have that purple on my brush, our little sprays are falling down and they're making little puddles on the ground. So I'm going to, wherever you want a little puddle to be, I'm going to trace the very top, that line, and then make kind of like a wonky wiggly underneath it. And fill it in. It's kind of weird shapes. And some is collecting. And our mouse friend. Trace the top. Wonky shape. Fill it in. And do the little foot. Wherever you want. Nice, so I have some little puddles going on. We're going to keep using our little brush, so let's give it a good scrub, dry it off. And we're getting towards our last little steps here. We're going to go in for some little sweeps of white. So I'm going to get a little bit of white paint. And I'm going to fill in my little toes. If you want to paint their toes a different color, you could. Do a little white. Gonna get a little bit more. I'm also gonna add a little highlight on top of the head because the sunlight is shining right underneath that outline. Give a little scratch. A little curve. Look a little bit more round. We do the same thing on the edge of the ear. A little white, and then on the behind there. We'll sweep the white on the back. If you wanted to add a little on the nose, because again the sunlight shining there, I don't have it on the example, but you could definitely add that on there. But instead of a line, I would do like little shorter lines in between. Again, optional, don't have to. Looks kind of cool. And then while I have white on my brush, I'm also gonna add a little bit of highlight on my umbrella. So a little on the edges. On the edges. And I'm kind of on the inside edge. It's not so much an outline. I'm following kind of inside the black Sharpie line. Then get a little bit more. And I'm gonna add a little highlight on the mouth. And add a little bit on the ear. A little on the back. And if you want, you can also add a little on the top of the leg. If you want. And if at any point that highlight gets a little brighter than you'd like, you can always add a little bit of brown right back on top and kind of blend it in a little if you need. because it's such a small little guy. Sometimes it can get a little bright. And then last little place I'm gonna add a little sweep of white are on the raindrops, because they're reflective in the light. So on each little raindrop, a little bit of white. Just gonna sweep a little on an edge. I'm gonna do this on all of them. A little bit more. Don't worry if a little color gets on there. It makes them look a little bit rainbowy in the light, maybe a little iridescent. That's a good thing. It's okay. If that's bothering you, just wash off your brush, grab a little fresh white paint, and keep on going. And then we need a little bit of grass. I'm gonna keep using my little brush. I washed it off, I dried it off just in case. And I'm gonna mix up a little bit of a darker green. I'm gonna get a scoopy of green and then a little bit of blue. Mix those two together to make a darker green, kind of like a tealy green. Take off all the extra paint. Don't need, get a little bit that I do. And wherever you want a little grass to grow, start at the bottom and go up, 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 up. I'm not pressing very hard. I'm just keep grabbing more paint and very lightly sweeping up, up, up. If you're running out of paint, it's getting scratchy, instead of pressing harder, just get a little bit more. Or like we did for the outline, you can add a little water to it. So you can add a little water to it, and that helps flow it along a little better. So as little or as much grass as you like, wherever you want it to be. After that, I'm going to do one little dot, tiny little dot of black paint, and I'm going to do one little poke in the eye. And then while you have that black on your brush, over here, right hand corner, we can put our little artist signature. I just put my initials, but you can do whatever you like. You can write a little bigger over here. You can fit it maybe small over here. If you have a marker or Sharpie at home, you can write that on there with that too. But I'm gonna do with my paint because I had it on there. Awesome, guys. Well, good job. Thank you so much for painting with me today. Happy April, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.